and the team got absolutely trounced at 0-2. So if OXG's caught onto that, and they're able to lock down Astro once again in this matchup, could be a bad day indeed for FaZe Clan. But at the same time, Oxygen has yet to take a series versus a Latin American team here, so it is going to be trouble for them as well. Let's get into it though, as we're into our first map here, heading into Bank between these two teams.
So the suit jacket isn't just for looks, my friend. You're also pretty damn good at your job. Habana gonna get removed here for Bank, make it a lot of sense, a ranged hard breach, not only to enact upon the top elevator hallway, but also all of the hatches that we see played inside of this space. An interesting ban here from Oxygen as they'll take the Nook out of play. We've started to see her played a little bit more often, not to the nth degree, but still she works her way in. She's got those frag grenades as well as secondary hard breach to especially be utilized on this map where things can get pretty sneaky deaky. Malusi will also be removed here from Oxygen, so thinking quite far ahead as to what FaZe's overall game plan is here, and this is what we expect for the main stage. Valkyrie will follow that up, and there's some interesting stuff to talk about on offense, John. We have Thatcher in the mix.
Yeah, Thatcher going to be available for play here, so lots of easy capability to access some of the harder to breach walls. So, for instance, double reinforcing things with Cade, Electric Claws and whatnot, going to be probably not happening too often here. We'll just rely on the passive mitigation of it that would come in from things like mute jammers and whatnot, as obviously the defenders will know how easily the attackers can get access. That relies, of course, on Oxygen actually bringing him into the fold, though. This is the double-edged sword of leaving Thatcher in the pool, is that we're so used to him being banned out that oftentimes when he's left in play, teams don't always necessarily make use of him because he's been worked out of comps. They don't necessarily need him anymore as well because they found other methods, whether it's proper utility clear from frag grenades or just other utility clear methods away from the frag grenades, that they are able to deal with those mitigation methods behind the doorways or behind the reinforcements and get themselves access to the site regardless.
Absolutely the case, and we're actually going to see that from Oxygen to start us off here. Also, Cyano, thank you so much for being our observer here on the main stream for today, as we will be getting into this one. But yes, Thatcher not going to be worked into the initial lineup here for Oxygen. Instead, they'll be choosing to bring two separate hard breaches. It'll be Thermite as well as Maverick. So hopefully if they do end up locking up any of the hatches, which they should with the Electric Claws from Bullet, Kino's job will be torching those open with Mav.
See all that good time, of course. Comes to our defensive setup, no huge surprises here. We are going to see the Electric Claws brought out for Bullet, of course, to try and mitigate some of the openings and just kind of make Thermite a bit of a moot point when it comes specifically the hatches, forcing Kino to be able to do that and just kind of limiting the attacker's capability. No can openers either, so all that pressure is going to fall entirely onto Kino, and that actually means the team might have trouble getting access to an additional hatch here if those are going to be positioned properly. It looks like just the Wayne one going to be prioritized over here inside of the staff room hatch, so shouldn't have too much of an issue for OXG to get past that unless we see another one deployed later on. But you have some aggressive posturing over for FaZe Clan. You can see over here towards the main stairs right now, Cyber and Bullet looking to wind up to possibly catch some of the members of Oxygen if they went for an opening square clear. However, I don't know if that's exactly going to be in the cards to a huge degree for them. We could see a much bigger emphasis on the front swing and trying to get access towards areas near Banana, as we just saw one player upstairs leaping in there.
Not a bad gamble from FaZe as Oxygen and quite a few teams adopting that skylight into their play and trying to hold on to white stairs as long as possible. Obviously, nobody going to be pressuring that too early here. Oxygen still start things off on square, clear out this top floor, and begin working down to the second phase. Have already fallen back downstairs as they're looking to play their utility, as well as the info game from Cameraman to influence their gunfights.
Things will continue to slowly devolve here. Moment in the favor of Oxygen as they forced back all of these small post-ups from FaZe without too much of an issue. We do get a better peek at where that second electrical ended up going down at now, as it's inside of the small office here. Cameraman will begin to rotate back into the site as they're going to give up their positioning inside of server there. At least one of the exos is going to work itself off as they're able to find out the position of that electrical. Not going to want to mess around with using the entirety of Kino's kit to be able to open that one up. Just needed to find out where that utility was positioned. And then there we go, popping that one open. Another one going to be utilized here in order to get access to the server hatch. That will leave, of course, the server walls themselves a little bit open for the leaving up for our defense, but there's a good chance those may have been left soft as well here, so we'll pay attention to that in just a moment as these guys work their way in. FaZe getting himself caught here by a motion detector as he does swing forward, but not going to be too much of an issue as the team approaches the site. We are going to notice, of course, here that it's been completely cleared out already, and obviously we'll have the Maverick in play, so while they're not going to be able to use the Exos to get a massive opening over here to get access to the server room, they're going to be able to make a small little corner so that their planter could sneak in and get one just on the edge of the plant. Toxic Base will start fending off said plant as Yaga goes for the first attempt, and of course, a huge amount of info going to continue to bleed in for FaZe Clan here as they've got their pulse safely tucked away in gold bars.
And they're going to continue to feed in these smokes as well as play around these nitro cells. 3 of those to try and continue to prevent this. Obviously, each one of the toxic babes able to prevent about 10 seconds worth of time. So Auction will continue to gamble at this as the smoke goes down. Nitro cell goes out. The first one is a miss, but they've done a bang-up job of delaying this. Soul still has a smoke, and that'll delay the next handful of seconds as Yaga can't find any more space. Cyber still with a long-distance angle here from Garage, that 1.5 influencing where he's able to sit, but now a beautiful shot is 2 people to fall here. Some big frags coming out from Yaga and Vertical. Super Astro, will he be able to stop this? He will not. The last remaining member takes 2 oxygen bodies with him, but we're into the post plant now as he must reposition himself. Doesn't have any impacts or anything as he's the one who carried the proximities. Instead, go back in and challenge into red, but with the wall Swiss cheese, this is going to be quite difficult for him.
Astro again, the huge clutch member of this roster, looking to shut himself down, looking to shut down the entire hold from OXG, but not going to issue getting it down there before time ran out. And once it was down, it went dominantly in their favor here against the remnants of FaZe Clan that were still alive at that point.
Well, now for FaZe, not able to secure the first round downstairs in lockers, and not feeling like the run back could possibly bode anything. So they'll head over to staff room open area here with the castle set up from Cameraman to see exactly what they can hold on to. As of right now, Cameraman will more than likely be setting things up around the kitchen space and some odds and ends over across the map to be able to assist with his team holding on to some extra space on this mid floor. It's extremely important that they're able to hold this for as long as possible up against Oxygen. It also forces Oxygen to get a lot of vertical control for FaZe. We'll more than likely see him utilize that CEO space with that sledgehammer as well.
Just a few seconds left in this build-up here, and once again, FaZe Clan are going to be waiting this one out here and playing into a bit more of an aggressive stance this time, as we'll see their players more than likely deploying up towards the second floor. Not a whole lot being committed to this position, though. Usually we're going to see a little bit more in terms of reinforcements and whatnot being played into specifically the janitor or the stocks play, but at this point, not going to end up getting that here. So just using these goo mines from Bullet to try and simply play around the main stairs there, and even that's going to be a little dangerous here too, because we've seen plenty of players posting up over this skylight so far in this tournament here, so nothing really that FaZe Clan can rely on in this extension in order to get them ahead in this round. They'll have to be very, very cautious. And once more, though, showing lots of confidence in their actual insight setup, looking at the relative inaction upstairs.
We'll see Bullet start his journey here at the top of white yet again with a fantastic read as, once again, FaZe have done their homework on the way that Oxygen like to try and enact themselves onto this map, as they'll be looking towards that skylight to see if anybody wants to peek it, but Vertical won't be able to find the kill. Instead, it'll be Laxing that takes down Cameraman. The castle now stuck to cameras, and, well, apparently Laxing able to sneak away some shots away from Cameraman before he could tag him.
So, Cameraman 0-2 so far on the outset of this matchup here. Still early days, however, so we'll see there'll be plenty of opportunities for him to frag things out in the future. Not the best opener, though, and things are going to continue to get worse here for FaZe Clan now as FaZe also strikes his own personal opener from up on top there, sledging open the access to archives and revealing Cyber, giving away another opportunity here for OXG to strike true. Things looking good for this team here as they've already built up a 5v3 a little over 1 minute into this second round.
And a FaZe member downstairs as well, so we could see a rotation here towards blue stairs. It'll be Bullet as he can possibly play spoils to Oxygen's overall strategy at the moment. Speaking of strategy, Kino will begin breaking up the kitchen wall. We've seen this pretty commonplace when it comes to the site throughout the tournament. We'll see if Souls can stand tall inside of this space as he has the 81, currently has 71 in it, but plenty of bullets in order to send down range at the Oxygen squad. They'll have 2 members inside of the space as of right now, whilst Oxygen clear out the rest of things. Still have a player inside of archives as well, but the entire small office has been reinforced, so they're not going to have as easy access as one might think.
Soul's going to get forced back. I don't know if that was the last Exo Yogg had with the successful trick coming back out there. Can't hear if there's another one, unfortunately, right now, so we'll have to see if he was able to get that one down. But looks like, once again, Souls, as he did fall back, was successfully able to impact trick out both of those at some earlier point in the round. So coming down to the 30-second mark, Kino, I believe, is currently in the process of Maverick tricking, opening the entire wall here so the team has at least one additional angle. It's going to lend a lot of credence over to Souls. Now, this is what was missing in the previous round. A big flank coming in from Bullet as he shuts down both of the players trying to push in towards Staff. That's Vertical and Yogg down. Kino will trade it back out. There's still a player up, but where's FaZe and Laxing? Their push needs to get into this site now, but they're being held back as well here. Planet Temp needs to get started, and they do at least manage to begin the process here. So no instant loss, but at a 2v2, all the pressure goes to FaZe, and he cannot maintain. The plant's down on the ground, but so is Kino, and FaZe will immediately retake to even this one up at 1-1.
A fantastic round from FaZe as they stick to their utility game. The impacts prevent the Oxygen's not going to be too happy about that one, especially with the late flank coming in. Then more than likely should have been watched, but we'll see if they're worrying about their rear this time around. Luckily enough, it will be the downstairs site where we saw FaZe drop off and try and play into utility. They're feeling as though they've been warmed up in the moment, so possibly able to challenge and able to stave off Oxygen with this one. But FaZe will be running the exact same lineup as they did prior, but will they go with the same opening? This is 2 rounds in a row where we see them prioritize white stairs to see if they can get ahead of Oxygen's clear game, but Oxygen have not adopted that into their play just yet. So FaZe obviously could be gifted one here early on if Oxygen aren't aware that they really want to get that skylight frag.
So let's see here how OXG will proceed once again and how FaZe Clan will look to fend things off better inside of the early round here. So far, FaZe, although yes, they eventually rebound inside of the second round there. They've been having a rough go of it inside of specifically the early round. 0-2 so far for the opening kills, both of which have gone over to Oxygen, and both as well have not even really been immediately exchanged. I think both rounds we've seen OXG bring it down to a 5v3 before a single kill is found from our defenders so far here. So lots more work to do in terms of catching up inside of the early round. However, as we've seen, still making good work of really bleeding out the time bank here, and that's the biggest struggle point so far from Oxygen. Vertical in the meanwhile here has also had a pretty promising start, especially inside of the first round. It was a big question for me coming into the series whether we were going to be able to see him perform, as he's been kind of missing on quite a few of these games as well here, which is a far cry from the performance we saw out of him back in Stage 3 of the NAL, where he was the go-to player for any type of plays for this team just a few months back.
Absolutely the case, my friend. Negative 18 to start this one off, and as you said, that's a far cry from what we expected, but hopefully we see him bounce back inside of this game. We expect quite a bit out of Oxygen's top fragger inside of Stage 3. That a 1.38 rating, currently set at a 0.85 for this land, so obviously wants to try and show himself off here and show that Oxygen is, well, he's well worth that money. Kino now will begin torching open the hatch inside of small office. Still have to work on some other things that are currently electrified, so it's going to take some time here for OXG.
Still a little over half the round to go, however, so no huge time stress just as of yet here from OXG. So they were able to work their way down into the basement without too much resistance coming in either. FaZe Clan playing heavily into the actual site setup here, and for the most part going to let their opponents walk in, except for Vertical there, who's going to meet an early cyber push back over towards the main stairs, and he's actually going to even double down, reascending back up to the second floor, now trying to work himself down Spiral. That will be a bit too much, though. Laxing will find the exchange, and the first plant attempts in the meanwhile are going to start to come in from Yogg as they need to bleed this out. Yogg just barely escaping that as he gets brought down to half HP, eating another bullet or so after, of course, being forced back by the Toxic Bane.
A little aggressive. Nitro Cell out now for Cameraman as he's trying to predict Yogg's next move, but it won't happen. Patience is a virtue, and it's paying off for him. Braggart actually catches Soul's smoke as he'll be dedicating his last one here. A little interesting interaction there inside of red. Fortunate for Oxygen, but obviously unfortunate for FaZe Clan. That'll be the last smoke used up here by Souls, but luckily enough, Bullet still has the stop with one of his Nitro Cells as Yogg begins the plant.
Still trying to work that hatchback open there. Fox, I believe, shooting out that Nitro Cell. The plant is not even going to get down there as well. Yaga trying to get off of it, and Astro catches him before he can get through the safety of the breach here. Laxing finally flanking in from the main stairs, but will it be enough? Time is nearly out. They need to frag these players down now, and no, he's not going to be able to chase it down quickly enough. Kino found his, but the other, not so much here. The rebound now from FaZe as they take the lead on their second attempt to hold basement.
And for Oxygen, you have got to lock up these stairwells. Now FaZe is just pushing into you and getting so many bodies in that case. Obviously, a simple one there from Cyber, but still, it's the precedent. They're able to abuse these stairwells, not in a way that they should be able to. And for Cyber, he could have even extended upstairs, John, and just sat there. He didn't necessarily need to come down Spiral. There's some extra time to waste inside of that scenario. But even past that, Oxygen not able to get the plant down, even though they were gifted one of those toxic babes being destroyed midair. It's just too much right now in the current moment, as Oxygen will go down by a round.
So a 2-1 lead now built up for FaZe Clan here, and finally going to see them extend into their tertiary site, which in this case is going to be the second floor hold here. Oftentimes a point where the defenders struggle quite a bit. Attackers have so much free access just in terms of vision to the site here. We'll have to see how FaZe Clan will try to deal with that, counteracting the pressure once again with their own holds from inside of more than likely meeting, and we can see the reinforcements going up for it now. Janitor as well will become a stronghold here for FaZe Clan to try and stop Oxygen from building up enough confidence to swing in through those windows on the outside, those repelled positions, in addition to getting the positioning they need to push in more likely from Banana or Square are going to be the two most common routes that we see our attackers trying to utilize here.
And as per usual, we're going to have some unique things happening across the map per team and per site setup, as FaZe not really dictating this entire site like other teams would. They'll end up busting open the double wall here inside of Conference, as well as shooting out most of the stock wall. A lot of teams here at this LAN have been reinforcing that and actually playing a shield inside of this space, but FaZe, they do it a completely different way, and we saw this work in a pretty unique fashion up against Liquid when they tried to push themselves up Spiral Stairwell, and they were able to prevent that from happening with some toxic smokes. Now into the opening moments here for round 4, as the drone game will spin up for Oxygen, trying to see exactly what is going around near Square. They'll have to worry about this downstairs presence yet again. Luckily they have Vertical with those Jackal tracks, so he should be able to assist in that info game.
1 minute gone away here now, and OXG just now starting to take full Square control confidently for themselves. We'll be able to open things up over here into the site without too much of an issue. No response available, unfortunately, for FaZe Clan on that one. No impacts, I don't believe, on the team at this point. No capability to use that out anyway. Bullet, however, going to creep back up, try to start working himself back in against this Square control. But OXG, it's no longer their priority. Yeah, they'll leave 1 or 2 players in the general area, but oh no, the big star, the superstar himself, Astro, now down here. Knocked out by FaZe on the opening pick as Astro tries to take a duel through the Exo breach and pays the price for it here. Bringing more of Oxygen back in through Square and building up that confidence, possibly just enough that'll be needed here to try and force them into the site. They want to open up the far wall as well here before they start to work towards that, and they've got plenty of time to do so. Still over a minute remaining.
Indeed, but they need to worry about the info game from FaZe. That bulletproof, especially from Bullet, could be inside of the site and giving info on where this plant's going to go on, and no smokes are going to thwart that either. So they really have to consider what they can do going forward. Cyber also still downstairs with prevention with this Nitro cell, and that's what we're going to be looking for. But now before FaZe is able to wipe him off the face of the earth, it's a trade here as Souls takes down Fox as well. Another nade out here from Kino as he's repelled on the north windows. This cross angle so very nice, whilst trying to look towards the site and see if they can get a plant. Oxygen still have man advantage here as well, but seemingly want a little bit more inside of this situation. But now Bullet and Souls, this might be the death blow. They'll take down 2 and convert the man advantage, but not before Vertical bounces back into the 2 versus 2.
30 seconds left for Vertical to try and work this. Kino should be able to group up with him at some point, and there he is, right on your screen, just when he was needed here. Bullet responds, however, knocking out the play from Vertical, and he's nearly got Kino already, but Kino nearly able to respond. Oh! Bullet, however, a fadeaway shot on his pistol. It's going to be able to take him out instead. FaZe remain consistent here with 3 rounds in a row, making a full site rotation and pushing them into a position where they're about to return to staff room.
Bullet is just a thorn in the side of Oxygen in the moment. They have no idea how to get around this. Most of their time spent inside of Square. They get the wall open very quick, but it doesn't seem like Oxygen are able to get their energy exuded onto the site in the fashion that they want to. They get the man advantage, but as we know from FaZe Clan and a lot of LATAM teams, they are not scared of that man count. They want to try and fight and equalize, and that's what they get done. And unfortunately enough for Oxygen, they're not able to try and fend them off in any capacity. They have to eventually try and work their way towards site, but then Bullet with a beautiful move up towards Stocks, able to take down the last 2 members as he knows that they have to push in for that space.
So let's see how things will try to change it up for FaZe Clan, or maybe not at all, as they're going to work themselves into a second hold here. Over towards the inside of staff. Gonna be, once again, the same formulaic lineup. Souls will be the big key player here with those impacts, trying to negate the opening from Yogg through those Exos and slow down the play, because OXG is still going to use that first minute or two, more than likely, to deal with what little of an extended room we will have upstairs from FaZe Clan. If you recall back to that second round here, yeah, FaZe Clan had a couple players up there, but they had very little, if any, utility to support the position here, and those players had no problem falling back. Despite that, however, FaZe Clan at the same time was able to waste out the remaining time bank and even come back from a 3v5 after OXG found two openers. Foxy getting one on the sledge from up on top there as he was able to take out the extended position in Archives, and also Laxing outside of the building getting one from those front windows there, catching a roaming member of FaZe 2.
And that was the start of the descent inside of that round as well. It started off so strong for Oxygen, just like round 4, but obviously FaZe able to pull it back through their utility game, as well as Bullet with a huge flank inside of that one. So hopefully Oxygen now aware of what could possibly go on, especially around that square space. We should see some more active droning inside of this round, just so that the info stays true and Oxygen don't get caught off guard this time. You can already see FaZe setting up in a very similar fashion, with Cyber rotating down the main stairwell, and Vertical now upstairs for Oxygen, as he'll be looking for some extra insight via the Inox.
Rest of OXG here built up now with that top control, built confidently towards their initial play. Now going to have to try and see if they can leverage an opening kill for themselves. Fox's hunt for the Archives player not going to go off so easily this time around here, as the presence will be much less so inside of here. And Cyber, in fact, down in the basement this time, no longer positioned inside of Archives. But still, members of OXG taking control of that for themselves here, opening up a possible path to swing over towards the main elevator. Is going to catch that flank this time from Cyber as well, so hopefully it won't be tripped up to the same degree that Bullet was able to do back on the last time this site was played. Another drone again, just reconfirming that Cyber is still in position somewhere down here, and a potential lurk against their blue stairs play could be a factor too. So someone will have to watch that if they're going to try to swing it in the same way here as we approach the last third of the round.
Bullet will be playing around main stairs here as well, so might have an opportunity to get above and try and enact himself on square. Laxing also trying to compress the site from the west-hand side at the moment. A 100-round drum will surely assist him in doing so, as there's 3 members of FaZe downstairs right now, but more than likely unbeknownst to the Oxygen members. Vertical now with his drone on the top of blue will be able to assist with this info game of Cyber. Does this Nitro Cell bag anything? I believe he's just going to wait around on this as Kino pushes down low. Foxy will pick up Souls, as well as Kino taking down Cyber. This might be the site open here, but no, Astro actually still inside of this space, but he's a lone soul inside of a desolate hole at the moment. Really needs some assistance from the rest of his squad, as Oxygen looking to push in, but does Astro really need anything? Maybe not, as a nade goes down low, tries to take up the member, but now Blue and Foxy panicking, and it looks like Yaga will be the man to take down Super Astro. Yaga will also be the man to plant, as well as Bullet tries to win his gunfight here at bottom square, and he'll do so. Nobody worrying about the cross, and Bullet trying to get so much done, but where is Cameraman? He's still downstairs as we go into the post plant.
Yeah, way too little presence on the site there at OXG. You can see it's a tense scenario for them as FaZe Clan try to snap the jaws shut. Thankfully, OXG are able to knock out a few teeth and work their way out of that mouth, giving them a second round finally in the first half.
Fantastic stuff here from Oxygen, and that's what we were talking about before, Blue. We really need to see that info game from Oxygen. You have to respect what FaZe will do with the map, and a perfect example is this round. They have 3 people downstairs for the majority of that, although Oxygen really only knows about 1 inside of server. It still gives them the idea of what can be going on and being enacted upon them, especially up those blue stairs, just like we saw previously. Now, the big thing here for Oxygen is this is actually quite the solid round to be picking up at the moment. If you guys watched their MIBR series, it actually did not go too well for them. They won 7-5 on Oregon, but when we got to Bank, it was a 7-3 victory for MIBR. Also inside of that series, a lot of Oxygen members falling off a cliff when it came to rating. Foxy had an amazing land to start things off. Inside of that series, a 0.85. Laxing not much better at a 0.89, and the Brazilian himself for Oxygen Esports, Kino at a 1.17 was really the saving grace inside of that one.
So let's get into the final round of the opening half here and see who can top things out. Will it be FaZe Clan maintaining the 4-2 advantage as they return to a little bit more straightforward territory in terms of their list of objectives for the hold on this round, or will OXG read into it once again, be able to properly fend off some of that backside pressure, that red hall presence would stop them from planning on the last attempt here and get their way in, just like we saw back in round number 1. The answer's coming up at some point in the next 3 minutes here, as OXG are on the table once again with the same lineup they've been rocking for the past 5 rounds here. FaZe, of course, did go for a slight change-up in their own regard. The biggest change, of course, being Cyber now bringing the Aruni in to hopefully slow down the utility dump and give FaZe Clan members a better chance of fending off the initial tank attempt when Oxygen are ready to flood the site.
Well, Cyber going to rotate up top, and once again, we're going to start off in the exact same way that we've been seeing them play these downstairs areas, play around the skylight up top for White, and see if they can possibly bag an early frag. Cyber currently 1-5 at the moment, but he'll rotate back downstairs. Doesn't want to stick around too long. Also doesn't have access to a nitro cell on this character, so more than likely just try and play things off inside of Garage with the MK. It's been quite the DMR here at this LAN scene. Quite a few people favor that over the Roni when it comes to Aruni.
We've got Oxygen once again with some early control built up as FaZe Clan. Not too keen on just trying to pressure out Oxygen inside of that first minute or so whatsoever from looking at the first floor holds where they don't try to go for a second floor extension. On top of things like this, we're not trying to play around with the blue stairs or anything even towards the main stairs here. FaZe Clan are giving a lot of respect over to Oxygen inside of this first minute or so. Not entirely though, as we can see. They are going to kind of reinsert themselves, but it's bold from FaZe Clan as they're making these kinds of moves. Actually, I'll correct myself here. There is quite a bit of support towards blue, so never mind. This falls into with something we would expect much more from a standard hold here. But it's something we also weren't seeing from FaZe Clan on the earlier attempts for this site. So it's going to force Oxygen to change their own game plan up a bit once they, of course, detect it. And now we'll have to try and work past it as at least 3 ADSs and probably a few magnets, too, sit inside of blue, making it very hard to flush that player out. And on top of that, the laser gate sits in the way also.
Quite the difficult setup for Oxygen to try and crack, but they first of all have to get done with this hard breach initially. Kino now finishing up the hatch inside of the small office here as he'll be opening that up. Already got red hatch open as well as square, and Cameraman's been dusted inside of server, but Souls doubles back down. Nobody pushing the top end here as Souls continues to find bodies, but it's actually the rest of FaZe instead as Oxygen tries to flood in. It's down to Laxing and Vertical. Vertical currently over the top of Red with Laxing here inside of square, but it's a 2 versus 4. This is starting to look like a FaZe round more and more, especially with Souls able to make such a grand stand inside of blue. Vertical trying to find an early pick here, or rather just a pick in general, but it's actually going to be Souls on the opposite side with the double kill on Delaxing, that M590 proving its worth yet again here, as it's going to be down to Vert inside of the 1 versus 4, and this is looking quite bleak. Not really much to do, and that's why Cyber will push up White stairs and claim the frag. It's a 4-2 half for FaZe.
Actually, seemingly with no problem getting the opener. The problem is keeping it for themselves. The past 3 rounds in a row, FaZe's found the opening kill for this team, but in the past 3 rounds as well, only one of those ended up getting converted by OXG to win the actual round here. Once again, drops in, but there's not enough pressure into blue, so he's immediately taken back out, and no additional follow-up for his position to try and support him to retrade that back out. So the dominoes continue to fall from that point forward as FaZe Clan maintain a power position inside of blue stairs that OXG really can't do anything about. You guys saw them dumping most, if not all, of their utility, at least from grenades, to try and flush out the player inside of server. None of that was used to deal with blue, probably hoping that FaZe would have been able to spin around and catch that player as well, or at least have another player flush in from the other side and pinch them out. That never happened. So FaZe Clan was able to continue maintaining that position, and on top of the insight players popping out shots from the back of Red into anyone else that would drop through the hatch, and made it quite the easy time for FaZe Clan to shut down the attack in a server.
Well, quite the interesting adaptation, I would say, for a Locker's defense. Yaga's going to be on dock. We haven't seen this at the entirety of this LAN, at least from what you and I have casted, so this should be very interesting. There's going to be an extended hold here from Oxygen as they start to reinforce inside of open area as well. It'll be 2 panels down here, 1 for Printer and then 1 just in towards Cafeteria to try and assist these Oxygen members and holding on to their lives. Some top reinforcements upstairs to just extend this and make things a little bit more difficult on FaZe. But how are they going to want to clear this? They're not going to have access to the Jackal like Oxygen did. Instead, they'll be bringing in the Yana, so they'll have some extra info game, but they're going to require so much of that in order to clear out this map properly. This is going to be down to a solid drone game from FaZe and some serious aggression.
Curious to see how Yogg will try to utilize this dock position here, more importantly how quickly he'll be flushed out of it, even with the utility support he does have here. Won't be alone though, as you can see Vertical also maintaining the janitor hall with a deployable shield supporting him. Yogg, I think, wants to try and kind of maintain himself a little bit more of an obscure position too, as he hides inside of Banana here, making it a bit harder for the FaZe Clan members to get an angle against him from the rappels. You can even see he's watching out for this cameraman, being cautious of the potential swing, but not cautious enough apparently, as it still successfully comes out from Yogg, knocking off half the HP from cameraman and sending him right off that rappel, leaving Yaga in place upstairs and causing some potential late round issues for FaZe Clan.
FaZe extremely aware of the situation at the current moment, but what can they do about it? It's going to be lobby as of right now, as Yaga will be trying to fend them off, at least hold this space on for a time. Minute and 50 seconds now, so still plenty to waste. You really want to see Yaga try and hold this down till about a minute 30, a minute 15, if he can possibly get it done. If he gets a pick here, that's even better, but it's going to be Bullet instead to take him down. Top floor now clear, as Bullet will immediately descend into the garage and see if he can get a solid push going. They know about what has been going on upstairs, which means that the site is more than likely soft.
So the Gambit to play in for the dock here ultimately ends up not being worth it in terms of the operator selection, of course, that utility never getting used, and ultimately, y'all could have played that out on another operator, but having the scope possibly helping him out in the duel to at least deal the damage to Bullet. But either way, it still works in the fact that it wastes a lot of time. A minute and a half from the round spent virtually just to take care of Yaga's position, and Vertical's also yet to have been dealt with as well. So if they plead ignorance onto him, he could once again act as a massive contribution to this team with a potential late round flank against the hatch drop or some other method. Is okay. We're going to see a bit of an exchange go on, but it favors FaZe Clan here as FaZe able to find the only pick from OXG. Kino now getting himself into the heat though, but he can only go 1 for 1, and it's left Vertical by himself. This flank will have to save the day, and he'll have to hope that they won't. Wasn't able to account for too much of the rest of the team in the site, and what was virtually a 5v3 for the take could not hold in the basement.
Extremely difficult game for Oxygen in the moment, as they'll be headed up towards CEO, and Yaga once again, he's going to sit on this dock pick. We'll have to see if it works out this time. I expect him to play around the checker space and just try and take some, longer distance gunfights with that 1.5, but we'll have to see. As for the rest of Oxygen, this is a pretty rudimentary setup for upstairs. A shield with Laxing as well as those yokais could possibly assist with the plant, and they more than likely are going to need that, as there's really only one option in order to get rid of any of Astro's Osa shields. She worked her way into the lineup via the 6th pick, and while Laxing will be able to prevent the actual plant from going down, FaZe is the only person that can actually outright destroy the shield. So this is actually a very, very strong moment for FaZe to have this operator. Could lead to some interesting end-round ordeals, but we'll have to see.
We'll have to also more than likely try to isolate out Kino here too, as those toxic babes can still become problematic, and how those smokes will bleed out past the shield and probably stop the plant attempts here. Obviously, if our defenders are going to run out of those impacts or other forms of utility that would have been needed to try and shut out the play from FaZe Clan. Curious to see how quickly they're going to try to play this as well. OSA has been giving teams a lot of additional confidence to try and swing in early, contest these setups outright here, because they have the shield to potentially not only place on the windows for the rappel, but of course to put inside when they make the move forward as well. And if again, they're going to be able to catch on to the fact of what you mentioned before, where they don't really have any good capability to knock these shields out quickly, that may spur them to make an even more aggressive play here.
Absolutely the case, my friend. And for FaZe, thinking through their headspace and their strategy for this round, they more than likely know a couple of things. Well, first things first, the default setup, at least what we've seen here for Bank at this LAN, going to be utilized from Oxygen around the stock space. This is something that FaZe was not really about, but Oxygen is, as they'll be able to hold things down for the top elevator hallway. But FaZe will be working at least one member in for the time, in through lone office. Yaga might have a frag, and he will. And speaking of frags, that'll drop at cameraman's feet. He did not get the release before that moment. Cyber gonna miss a big kill now as well. That could have been the equalizer onto Fox if he was able to find his shot, but the desk just a little bit too cluttered for him to see that helmet.
So we'll see early success yielded by the Oxygen roster, and y'all gonna be able to tempt himself to go for a second one. That one might be a bit too bold, but hey, the good news is he's been promoted to Doc as of a round back here, so he'll have himself the quick little juice up there to get him right back into the fight. And of course, his opponent will be none the wiser to that. Well, they will, but won't be able to do much about it here. as we'll see the damage stick consistently onto Bullet here. Young, though, I think his time is up. The player has gone away. Oxygen is going to spot out, of course, this first shield being placed down on the rappel, so they'll be cautious of a potential execute to come in at some early point here. Actually, both of them just being used for that. Not going to try and save them for the insight play here. Instead, wants to keep their rappel players nice and secure and allow them to hold as much vision as possible about any potential swings from OXG.
Biggest thing here for Osa is that she can pick those shields back up if she so chooses. So we could see Astro possibly change positions, but more than likely not the case at the current moment, simply because of the amount of aggression he can have around those to play his window repel and get some extra information. That was a little squirrely there, almost able to get some shots onto FaZe, but he's been able to keep his life. And what a beautiful nade here from Cyber. He'll take down Kino, and this is going to start to open up the site, especially after Vertical takes some serious heat. Cyber with one, but he's traded out from Laxing, apparently forgetting that he loves to play this elevator spot. Bullet now the only member here for FaZe, and definitely aware that Laxing's down there inside of that elevator hallway. Does this nade land? It will not. Laxing, unfortunately, alive for Bullet's sake, as he'll lose his life, and Oxygen will be able to win things out on CEO.
The Doc Gambit ends up working out much better this time, both in terms of its capability to waste time on the outside rappel, and of course, absolutely, pick up a kill as Cameraman becomes the first victim of this Doc pickup upstairs here. More than likely going to see it drift away, though, as we're heading to a third new site for Oxygen as they go down the staff and open area. We're really not going to have much of a reason to play out aggressively into like a banana balcony area, as he's mostly been picking up for the past 2 rounds here, so he will finally come back down to earth here and go on towards the Aruni, it looks like, for this upcoming round.
6 pick in for Cyber. He's picking up the other soft breach that we love to see. Buck will be coming in, but obviously that's dropping the frag grenades off of Sledge, so we'll have to see what he can possibly achieve. And speaking of different operators we haven't seen just yet, Sam Fisher or Zero, depending on what you know him as, will be working his way into the FaZe lineup as well, so some extra insight as to what's going on around the map. This could be quite solid for FaZe, especially given the circumstances of what we saw the staff room play like for FaZe. A lot of, rotations down to the basement and trying to challenge around that square space, as well as just work some other odds and ends to really get aggressive up against the offense. And this is something that FaZe could obviously mitigate with those SAM cams or Argus cams that they can place around the map for some extra information.
5 seconds left.
So we'll see how Astro will try and utilize that. Astro's actually had a bit of a fall from grace here so far, ever since the second half had gotten started. I believe he was sitting at or very close to 8 kills already. So minimal performance from him so far inside of the second one. It's been Bullet quickly catching up, and not only him as well, a bit of a team affair from pretty much everybody except Cameraman on FaZe Clan right now. As you can see, Cyber and Souls pretty close behind the stat department there also. Meanwhile, for OXG, it's been quite the map for FaZe. Once again, this is the leader at the moment for OXG. He took on the IGL roles just a few months back, right before the Sweden major, if memory serves me correctly. So far, they're dominating with, again, like I was talking about before, 3 entries in a row to end out the previous half there. And this is on top of, as well as some of the other players to really start to step up here in this matchup. Hoping to bring OXG back, but still a 2-round deficit sits before them. They've got a lot of work to do before they can potentially think about winning this map.
Yaga keeps playing in that space, and, well, we won't be calling it checkers anymore, will we? As he once again will be inside of that office. Somebody hopping inside of stock, and what a shot from Cyber to take down Vertical. He's inside of open area. Do they know that he's here? Oh no, he's living inside of the site, guys. Somebody do something. It's a double kill. He knows Laxing's in the corner, but Laxing, luckily enough, will be able to knock him out. It's a 3 versus 3 as we get action-packed round 9 kicked off inside of the first minute and a half.
So much damage done by Cyber over the course of that play, however, here, so it's going to be problematic for OXG as now Kino's dropped. He was one of the 2 players at low HP. Laxing's the other one, but Laxing able to hold on for at least one more 1v1. Falls now, however, to the push that's working its way in from Yaga, as now he's going to try to wrap back around here, and you'll see it, Super Astro, and Cameraman are able to shut down the last 2 members of OXG, giving FaZe Clan their penultimate round in the first map.
I think that's their duo name. If it was like DBZ and they leaned and touched fingers and transformed into one being, that'd probably be what it is. I don't think that they'd necessarily have the glasses to take off to change from Bruce Wayne, but I don't really know. So either way, Lockers will be the next site here for Oxygen, as actually Bruce Wayne is Batman. I actually just messed that up, didn't I?
Yeah, it's Kent Clark.
Kent
Superman,
Clark. See, well, you see which DC hero I enjoy. The Dark Knight.
Technically his name's Kal-El, but...
Oh, look at you. Yeah, I wouldn't know that. Yeah, I'm much more of a Batman fan, I'll be honest. But either way, FaZe able to find their 6th round past that. And as of right now, looking extremely solid. The biggest issue for Oxygen in the moment is that they weren't able to collect enough of their offensive side. It's looking pretty bleak for them in the moment, and honestly, you really can't even give them the benefit of the doubt, John. They had a lot of options on that offensive half. I want to remind you guys, they had access to Thatcher that entire time, so all that slow hard breaching that went on, especially with Kino running out of utility for the actual CCTV hatch, all of that could have been mitigated just by bringing Thatcher and possibly some secondary hard breach. It's very unfortunate for Oxygen in the moment, but that's something that they'll more than likely look at a little while longer or a little while on. As of right now, there's a lot of business to attend to in between these two. The possibility of our last round is right now, as FaZe is 1 round away from taking Bank.
FaZe in a great position to close this one down as well with 3 opportunities to do so. We're going to be returning to the basement hold where at the same time, again, FaZe have already been able to close things out at an earlier point in this half. Your OXG have their work cut out for them. Going to rely heavily on their basement setup. Yogg's going to do a little bit of peeking here or there. He's gone off the dock because obviously this didn't work too well here because between him and the position from Vertical that was up on the 2nd floor, they weren't able to put their positions back into basement in time there, leaving it open for the taking of what was virtually a 5v3 for the actual site assault there, and then just one additional player that had to be cleaned up once they had site control, and really not a whole lot that Vertical could do because he got back to the site too late. So this time, focusing it all up, keeping everybody downstairs here, just a little bit of a lean up the main stairs to see if maybe they can get lucky and catch a member of FaZe Clan wandering out just a bit too far.
Well, cameraman will begin torching up the hatch here inside of lobby. Super Astro already able to pop open small office as well as they begin to connect the rooms with those breaching charges. Lax going to be looking for some extra information as Vertical lock up the back hatch here for Elevator. So we'll see if FaZe wanted access to that or they will use the rest of Cameraman's torch. Souls will be able to pop open square hatch as well as Kino will be manning this space. Gemini to drop down and clear out server and see if Oxygen want to try and hold it in similarity to what their strategy was on their defensive end, but no, it'll just be Kino inside of the space with so much utility, all 3 ADSs, as well as some discs from FaZe inside of this space. A beautiful shot there from Kino, but it's immediately traded from Cameraman as they already have the space down low inside of server.
So moving into the final minute of the round here, Cameraman trying to prime up a nade to see if he can maybe get one of the members inside of red. We are going to see Astro keeping close watch on that main stair flank just to make sure no one from Oxygen tries to peep up late into the round here since they themselves don't have a whole lot of pressure bearing down on that stair or elevator position. They might try to go for it late here too to act as a kind of surprise alternate angle against the hold from OXG, but time will tell if that's truly going to be the case. Less than a minute remaining, however, FaZe Clan to get the job done. FaZe trying to tap back in here, but a player leaps in directly from the hatch above him. Astro gets that kill. Now he can support the rest of the play in from the site too, but Vertical still able to respond. They don't account for Astro swinging in though as he finds one. The Nitro's out, but it doesn't do enough damage to Souls here. He gets back with the plant in check. Yaga finally deals with Astro, but that only evens us back up into a 2v2. Souls is now up on top, playing inside of the square hatch, watching over the plant. And Yog, yeah, he'll be flanking towards this here, but he's already given himself away with that one bullet that's thrown out there. Laxing as well, only to be able to provide the intel from further back there with the pings coming out on the heartbeat sensor. And oh no, Yog's about to walk right into a trap here. There's a player set up perfectly for this move, and nicely done there by Souls as he takes out Yog, leaving only Laxing alive, and he cannot maintain. Souls gets the final kill of the map, and this one is going over to FaZe Clan as they take a 1-0 lead in the series.
What a game here from FaZe as they woke up early this morning and apparently had their Wheaties. It's a 7-3 victory once again, mirroring what we saw from Oxygen up against MIB.